Now before we get started, I'd actually like to take some time to thank the sponsor of this video, Thrones Amino. Amino has a community for every single fandom out there, and their Game of Thrones community is my personal favorite, with over 60,000 Thrones fans coming together on this awesome app. When you join Thrones Amino, you'll be instantly connected with others who share your passion for A Song of Ice and Fire. While on this app, I love to read communities' fan theories and test my knowledge on Game of Thrones. I also thoroughly enjoy voting in polls and waiting to see if my opinion is similar to others of that in the fandom. Another super fun thing to do is look at all the fan art. I personally have a passion for creativity, so it's always awesome to browse through the talented pieces that are shared. And as of today, I currently have created a poll in which you can vote on who's the best fighter out of all the Game of Thrones season. Please go and participate in this poll so you can help me decide in who's the best of Game of Thrones. To participate in this poll, just click the link in the description or the pinned YouTube comment at the top of the comment section and follow the prompts to download Amino for free on iOS or on Android. Or you can download Amino by searching through your app store, then clicking in the search bar and typing Game of Thrones. Remember, once you're in, you can find me by searching for my username in the actual Thrones Amino app. My username is Sir Hunt's Reviews in parentheses Mark. Thanks again to Amino for sponsoring this video, and be sure to go download the app right now and begin browsing it. So continuing on with the theme of my last video, which was discussing the third and final shocking twist that we were gonna get in Game of Thrones Season 8 that will relate to the books. So in this video, I want to continue that theme and discuss what the actual final scene may be in Game of Thrones Season 8. I will be mentioning my own speculation as well as some leaks that were sent to me. So here's your sign and let's begin. Before we get started, please do me a massive favor and slap a like on this video. The like goal is going to be 1,420. Also, make sure you're subscribed, and then, this is the most important part, make sure you have notifications turned on so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a Game of Thrones video throughout this long night. I wanted to start by mentioning my ideal scene for the final moments of Game of Thrones Season 8. Now, in my opinion, it should, if both characters survive, be about Jon and Daenerys' wedding. They get married in the Dragon Pit because this is where Daenerys told Jon that this is where her family began its destruction. It's not actually Tyrion's trial, and instead we're getting Jon and Daenerys' wedding. This could be why all the characters were spotted in Sevilla around the time that they were supposedly filming Tyrion's trial, and with all the destruction that were promised in Season 8, it would be nice to go out on a soft note, sort of the union of Ice and Fire. Maybe we'll get lucky and lose a bunch of second tier cast members and maybe one or two main characters, but Jon and Daenerys and the people close to them mostly survive and are present at their wedding. Now, just to sort of clarify here, most of the actors that were spotted in Sevilla weren't all filming, and some of them were just there for the GOT rap party. In my opinion, though, there's going to be another GOT rap party, so it is sort of suspicious to have all the characters, some of them who haven't been on the show in almost 2 seasons at this point, at a rap party, literally 1 year before the actual show even has its series finale. Now, I've actually been sent several leaks in regards to what is actually going on in this situation that was filmed in Sevilla. One of my most favorite ones is not necessarily favorite because I want it to happen, but more so favorite because it would be all the more shocking, is that according to the leaker, which sent this to me on Twitter, and yeah, that's right, I'm gonna plug my own Twitter account, make sure you go follow me at Sir_Hunts, but this person mentions that Sansa gets captured by the Golden Company. After the Long Night is defeated, she agrees to parlay with Jon and trade Sansa for Tyrion. Daenerys and Jon try to come up with another way, but Tyrion does not. He says that if his life will save Sansa, then so be it. He mentions how he owes a great debt to Daenerys and Jon, and at this point in the season, Dany has lost both of her dragons along with the majority of her army after the war. Most of their men that are left over and all the survivors are tired and bloody, so she doesn't have a choice to fight. Her and Jon agree to let Tyrion turn himself in. Tyrion goes, sets on trial, and chooses Sandor as his champion. Sandor then faces off against Gregor and is victorious but mortally wounded. Arya lays him to rest, and Tyrion becomes hand to the king to Jon and Daenerys in the north. Now, I know that last part about Gregor and Sandor having a Clegane Bowl in the final episode is a bit of a stretch, and yes, it is, but the way this leak puts it together, it kind of makes sense. I sort of summarized it for the purposes of this video, but it mentions that there's several moments earlier on in the season where Sandor and Tyrion connect. They bond over a mutual hate for Cersei and the fact that they feel like even though the Night King is defeated, they have an unresolved issue that they need to go take care of in the form of Cersei and then in Sandor's brother, Gregor. The one thing I like about this leak, and trust me, it does have its plot holes, but it's the fact that Tyrion does get his trial, which is one of the most heavily theorized and heavily accepted spoilers of something that will happen in Season 8. That does happen, but it doesn't turn out the way we all think. It doesn't end in Tyrion's death. Instead, he has a champion, and he chooses a trial by combat. I will say the fact that he survives and then becomes hand of the king to Daenerys and Jon Snow does seem a little bit cliche, but the other parts of this leak do seem legit. Now, the next last potential scene that we may see in Season 8 that I want to discuss is one that's a bit more somber, and this one's really more for a worst case situation. That being, if Jon and Daenerys both die in the end, then I would want to see a scene that's very reminiscent of something that was sent to me, and that would be Jon and Daenerys' child running through Dragonstone or Winterfell. Either Jon or Dany have died, or they both died, and their survivors, the second tier characters like ideally Sam or Davos, would be the ones who would raise their child. I think for the most part, the biggest fans of the show have accepted the fact that the Night King is the ultimate answer, and he is death incarnate, so he's going to bring death to the majority of the cast next season. In this situation, where Jon and Dany's child is being raised by either Davos or Sam, then this would mean that the most heroic characters died, and the second tier, or the meek, inherited the earth. Sam had actually mentioned this back in Season 4 when the Wildlings were sieging the wall. Also, it's long been predicted that the crippled bastards and broken things are going to be the ones who inherit Westeros after all the wars are done, not just for the TV show, but for the books as well. Just imagine a final scene like this. The camera pans up on, let's say, Dragonstone. We hear a child's laughter, and that child gets a close-up, and we realize that this is Jon and Daenerys' heir. And if she's 75% Targaryen, then she's likely going to have the famous silver hair. The child is shown playing with a small toy. That small toy is a direwolf, and it's very similarly carved to the way that Davos made the stag for Shireen. The camera then pans up, and it's Davos reading a book to the young Targaryen. Now, I've pointed this out before in my videos, but the first word that Davos actually learns how to read is Aegon. So in my opinion, this will be one of the first words that he learns how to write. This also happens to be the true name of Jon Snow. What if the very final scene ends with Davos teaching the young Targaryen baby how to write or maybe even spell her father's name? Now, just to sort of add some leak sauce to this, I do want to quickly mention something that was sent to me a while back, and that was in regards to a casting notice that was sent out to a bunch of different agencies in the UK. Now, supposedly what everyone was privy to was something that was leaked by Watchers on the Wall, and that was a casting notice for a young village girl who will play a rather typical part in Game of Thrones, and she's supposed to be age 18 to 25, and is supposedly supposed to go naked above the waist. Now, obviously, you're like, dude, what? Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen's daughter is not going to do that. Exactly. According to this leaker, this person said that that was a false casting notice, and the reason why it was described that way is so that it wouldn't raise any red flags, but they were actually looking to cast a female actress between the ages of 18 to 25 to play the child of Jon Snow and Daenerys. Now, before I go any further into this leak, obviously, this is most likely a load of horse and is to be taken with a grain of salt. Most of the leaks that I cover on my channel are for purely entertainment purposes, but this leaker, air quotations there, goes on to state that the person cast or the actress cast for this role actually only appeared in the final episode, and the scenes they were filming only took a few days total to complete, and according to the leaker speculation, the scenes may be part of a fake ending that was filmed by the Game of Thrones showrunners. Now, all that aside, that leak still does not sound credible in the smallest bit, but casting agencies have been known to muddle the waters when it comes to casting notices going out. Sometimes they change the subject of the actual casting notice entirely, and the movie that goes along with the casting notice may not actually be what it's for. But you see, here's the thing. This is Game of Thrones, and the casting notices and everything in that relation has always been uncovered by Watchers on the Wall. They are the top dogs when it comes to casting notices and who are going to be the new characters in the next season. So the fact that this casting notice was not covered by them, well, it makes me think that this leak is all the less credible. But what I liked about it was the fact that it included a scene with Jon Snow and Daenerys' child. If both Jon and Daenerys die next season, or if one of them dies and the other one is forced to raise their child, then having a future scene set maybe a few years down the line would be a perfect way to wrap up this amazing television series. Now, the last potential final scene that we may see in Game of Thrones Season 8, and I guess I should have saved the title of most desperate of situations for this one. That one is the Night King wins everything. Most of the characters die in the process, but the main ones survive and venture to potentially a new land out of the reach of the Night King. This one has like a 0.00% chance of happening, because even though Game of Thrones became famous for subverting your tropes and making usually the bad guys come out on top of the good guys, that would just be too much for everyone. The Night King is the ultimate evil, and he is death incarnate. So the fact that he would win the Game of Thrones and sit on the Iron Throne is a bit of a corny ending. I do know that he has more motivation behind his character than what we've been shown, and perhaps we'll get some more light shed on that in season 8, but if his whole motivation was just to come down south, kill everyone, and sit the Iron Throne, well, that would be extremely lame, and I'm pretty sure there would be a bunch of broken monitors and television sets from the finale of Game of Thrones. This whole show has been about the human evil, so the Night King is the greatest evil in the sense that all of the humans have to put aside their differences, come together to destroy him, but the ultimate evil that will be around until the very end, even long after most of our main characters are dead, is that of the human evil. Cersei represents that in this final season. Even though most of us see her as just blatantly evil and the cause of most of our beloved characters' turmoil throughout the entirety of this series, there is more to her character. The only reason why she acts this way is because of her circumstances. She was given a certain plate in life, and instead of refusing to eat what she was given, she ate it and asked for more. In my book, Cersei Lannister is the greatest player to ever have played the game in Westeros. And no, I do not agree with any of her motivation or any of the actions she's taken, but if you think about it and take a step back, Cersei's been sitting on the Iron Throne the longest, and it's a lot easier to hold on to something once you've already held it, and she's arguably sacrificed every single thing she's loved to have that seat of power. So if there is a character alive, or if there is a villain alive who deserves to sit the Iron Throne in the end, well then that would arguably be Cersei. And what's interesting to me is that even though we've all seen Cersei sitting on the throne the longest, we all let the hate get the better of us, and we're like, yo, she's guaranteed death. There's no way that this blonde-haired woman is going to walk away from all of this unscathed. And for the most part, no matter which way you see the show ending, everyone agrees on the fact that Cersei will die and lose the Iron Throne in the end. So in my opinion, having Cersei sit the Iron Throne in the end, or maybe having Jon Snow bend the knee to her, or maybe just separating up everything and Cersei still gets the Iron Throne in the end, will be something that nobody really saw coming. And if I put my own speculation and my own predictions aside, that's the type of ending that the show is famous for. And while I don't think it will go down exactly that way, I can 100% guarantee you that the true ending of Game of Thrones Season 8 is going to be something that no one really saw coming. I don't want to really spend too much time discussing the possibility that I just mentioned, because I've actually covered it recently in a video from a few days ago. You can click the link down below in the description to go and watch that. Now, before we get out of here, I want to touch back on some of the casting news that I briefly mentioned earlier. This information comes again courtesy of Watchers on the Wall. Now, a while back, I believe it was around April of last year, so it's almost a year to this point, there was an actress known as Bronte Carmichael who was cast to play a role in Game of Thrones Season 8. Now, this was supposed to be a reoccurring role, meaning they're going to take place over multiple episodes, and the person who was directing those episodes are Miguel Sapochnik. He's the dude who's known for the Battle of the Bastards, Hardhome, and the Winds of Winter. Basically, the biggest Game of Thrones battle sequences. And in Game of Thrones Season 8, he's set to direct the 3rd episode, which we have confirmed by Vladimir Furtick to be the biggest battle ever seen, and then also the 5th episode, which we know is likely going to be the Siege of King's Landing. Now, this actress has actually been given a name, or her character's been given a name, and that's Martha. Obviously, we really can't speculate too much just from the name alone, but the people over at Watchers on the Wall think that this was actually for a casting notice that they called out way earlier, way back in 2017, for a stern, talking northern girl who is said to have a straightforward part in Game of Thrones Season 8. Now, the whole reason of me bringing this casting up is because, of course, I've been sent a leak that sort of contradicts that information. This person states that Martha, or the role of Martha, is actually going to be the role of a young Night Queen. We first see her in episode 3 while Bran attempts to warg into the Night King's past. The episode starts out with Bran doing this. We see a younger version of the Night King playing in a courtyard with this girl, and it appears to be Winterfell, when all of a sudden, the Lord of Winterfell appears and shoves the boy to the ground. It's made clear that the boy is unwanted and a bastard son of the actual Lord. We then see Martha again in episode 5, but only briefly. Once Bran enters the flashback, again, it starts out with the shoving, but transforms to older versions of the boy and the girl. It's revealed that they have grown to be lovers and are discovered in bed led by the Lord of Winterfell, the same one who shoved the boy to the ground. The scene cuts to Martha and the Night King being banished outside of Winterfell and being forced to go to the Wall. Now, obviously, that's a super specific leak, and it's very detailed as far as flashbacks when it comes to Game of Thrones. I don't know why the flashback would be continued in episode 5, because I think the Night King is mostly going to be destroyed by episode 3, although that kind of does seem a little bit too soon to get rid of the greatest evil ever aside from Cersei. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you think about the validity of that last leak, as well as the rest of my speculation from this video down below in the comment section. Alright, and with that being said, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 1,420. A super special thank you to Thrones Amino for sponsoring this video. Be sure to go and check out the link at the pinned comment at the top of this video, as well as down below in the description, and go and download that app. Super special thank you to every single person watching this video right now, and a special thank you to every single member of my Patreon family over on patreon.com/SirHuntsReviews. My name's Mark, and this has been Sir Hunts Reviews.